Hi, Carlos Bertray here. I want to talk to you briefly about the Temporary Protected Status program. In particular, I want to talk to you on the steps from moving from temporary protected status, whether you were a recipient in the past or you're a recipient today, you're still in status today, to the lawful permanent resident. In recent months, many programs have been cut. And so even if you have current status, you may be in fear of what happens when it ends. Well, in the past, there was no road to lawful permanent resident carved out in the law. That's not necessarily the case anymore, depending on where you live and other factors. But in general, there are possibilities, and I've broken them into 4 different roads for you. And we're going to discuss that in this video. The 4 different roads to take you from temporary protected status to lawful permanent resident. So let's get started. Okay, the first option is your family-based permanent residence options. In the past, temporary protected status recipients were not allowed to seek adjustment of status as the husband and wife of a U.S. citizen for an obvious reason. They most likely entered without permission. And so they were not inspected when they entered. And as a result, they couldn't qualify to get a green card here. Well, a recent ruling in the Ninth Circuit, that's California, that's where I live, but it's also other states, Arizona, Alaska, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana. They also are in the Ninth Circuit. And a recent ruling has said that that if you were granted temporary protected status, you can, in fact, seek adjustment of status. Now, hopefully you meet the other requirements. That's a whole nother evaluation that has to take place. But you're not automatically prohibited in the past. For several years, I argued this point. I argued that, look, someone that came in through TPS, they were inspected and admitted. Look, they turned in paperwork. They turned in paperwork about when they entered, how long they've been here, if they had any convictions, and everything else that you have to do to be inspected. And they were inspected, and then they were admitted. They were granted temporary status as a temporary protected status recipient. And I fortunately had a lot of good luck with that argument, but it wasn't the law. It wasn't officially the law. Although I always thought that with a certain case that a higher court, not an immigration court, but a higher federal court would come down and see it the same way. Why? It just makes more sense. It makes more legal sense. And it's also fairer. And as a result, the Ninth Circuit has said that is the law now in the Ninth Circuit. Now, in the Sixth Circuit, they also hold the same position. And that includes if you're a TPS recipient in places like Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee. Now, one circuit court sees it entirely opposite and has said that that's not the way to see it. And that's the 11th Circuit, which covers Alabama, Florida, Georgia. Okay. But if you're not in the 11th Circuit, and you're not in the 6th or the 9th Circuit, you're in one of these states where there isn't a final definitive word. I know a lot of my legal brethren would say, well, that means it's not the law. It's the way it was before. Well, that's true. But we also know now, don't we, that we can challenge that law and that there's a good chance of winning that challenge. And so I would say that if you're in one of these other states and the program ends for you, the TPS program ends for you, don't give up. You should look into this possibility, and you might be able to prevail on it. Eventually, the other circuits are going to have to make a decision, or the Supreme Court is going to have to speak on this issue. And the odds are, as I said, this is the better reasoned approach. And I do believe that this is the way to go. Now, on the other hand, you didn't hear me say it, even though this is on YouTube. You didn't hear me say it. You could move to California and apply for it while you're here. I didn't say that. No. Okay. No, it's true. If you're in one of these other states, and there's nothing that prohibits you from moving to one of these other states to seek it either. And I know the government, if you're watching this tape, you're not going to like that I said that, but it's reality. And there's nothing. What are you going to do? Challenge the law and say, oh, they moved in the last minute because they were form shopping for TPS? I don't think that argument's going to work. So family-based permanent residence is a good way to go. But you still got the regular green card issues, the regular lawful permanent issues. You got, if you're an overstay, you overstayed your visa, if you came in without permission. And this is what is the reality in a lot of TPS cases, where you came in without permission, say in 1997, and your country was designated a few years later for TPS status. Well, the years before you got TPS status, you were out of status. Then the issue becomes whether you ever left, whether even if you left, say, on parole or something, does that trigger a bar so that you can't go forward? Those are legal issues. Criminal convictions. You got to look into your criminal convictions. Same thing. The same thing as would happen in most lawful permanent resident cases. You have to look out for the same problems. And if you're interested in more information on that, I have a few videos on this channel. When this video is over, just look around. You'll see quite a few videos on lawful permanent residence, and they can help guide you through this process of becoming a permanent resident. Thanks for watching. Know someone who might be interested in this video? Then please take a moment to like and share it with them. Also, if you would like more videos on immigration, just click on the subscribe button. And here's a little bonus, a short guide that you can download for free by clicking on the link on the description box or the square-shaped image. Plus, if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see, write a short comment below, or feel free to contact me at carlos@vataraimmigrationlaw.com or by calling 800-287-1180. My name is Carlos Vatara. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be talking again very, very soon.